Welcome to In 5 Minutes. The agenda of this clip is to understand the comparison between static CMOS, Pseudo-NMOS, dynamic Domino circuits and CMOS transmission gate. I am going to compare all of this on the following parameters: the number of NMOS present in the circuit, the number of PMOS present in the circuit. So I am going to say that comparison is going to be on the basis of number of transistors required for a K input gate. So if it's a 2-input AND gate, how many transistors would be required for all these families? If it's a 3-input NAND gate, so it's going to be a K input gate for which I'll identify the number of NMOS and PMOS. That will be my first point of comparison. My second point of comparison is going to be the static power dissipation. Now this is nothing but the gate which may consume some power when in the quiescent condition. Quiescent means a DC condition, which we have seen in the previous clips. Rail to rail output, it means that whether my logic family is able to produce or give me a complete output voltage swing between 0 and VDD. Ratioed circuit. For my correct operation, does this family needs to size its PMOS and NMOS transistor is what we are going to see. And cascadable. Does the family give me an output which can be considered as a legal input to another gate of the same family? We'll see this. I think you have understood which family is coming under which category. We'll quickly see this one by one. Let's start with the static family. We know that we want to make a K input gate for a static family, correct? If it's a 2-input, I'll need 2 transistors for my pull down, 2 transistors for my pull up. If it's a 3-input, 3 transistors for my pull up, 3 transistors for my pull down. In nutshell, the number of inputs which I need for my, or the number of input gates I have, the same number of transistors I will need for my pull up and the same number of transistors I will need for my pull down. So NMOS for a K input gate in static family is going to be K. The number of PMOS in the K input family is also going to be K. Static power dissipation, we already derived that. You remember we studied static inverter. At that point of time, we completely came upon and derived and realized that the static power dissipation for a static CMOS inverter was equal to 0. So static power dissipation here is technically equal to no or a 0. So no static power dissipation. Rail to rail output, we saw that when we studied static CMOS inverter, our VOH was equal to VDD, our VOL was equal to 0. We got a perfect voltage swing. So rail to rail output, yes, we got it perfectly. Ratio. We did not have to size our transistors to get the correct functionality. We kept on sizing because we wanted equal rise and fall time or equal charging and discharging time, but we did not have to size it for the functionality. So they are not to be sized, so no ratioed. Can we connect one static gate to another static gate? Yes, we can. We saw this, that one inverter can be connected to another inverter of the same family and there was no problem. So cascadable, yes, absolutely, they can be cascaded. Now let's see some of the other advantages or disadvantages of static logic family. One biggest advantage we have discussed is the static power dissipation, correct, is 0 or it's not present. The other advantage is the noise immunity or the noise margin is high. We already saw this in the entire chapter on noise margin. Then because the number of NMOSs is equal to the number of PMOSs and PMOSs being slower was a drawback. So PMOS transistors were the drawback and that were K of them. So that was a drawback. The another drawback is that suppose if I draw a CMOS inverter, correct? And if I keep on increasing my input, my PMOS keeps on increasing. Remember that there is a capacitance at the gate which is CG, which is given by COX.W.L. For this PMOS, this W is going to be nothing but the width of this PMOS. Does everyone agree to that? Correct? Because this is CG, which is equal to CG of NMOS plus CG of PMOS, and CG of PMOS is COXWL. So what's going to happen is, as the K inputs keep on increasing, the number of PMOSs keep on increasing, and suppose there is another gate or another transistor driving this gate, it has to drive so many number of CGs for my PMOS transistors. In simple words, if it's a 3-input AND, it will have 3 PMOSs and it will have 3 CGs of their respective PMOSs and 3 CGs for their respective NMOSs. PMOSs being slower, it will slow down this gate further, and if we want to make this PMOS fast, we have seen that we need to increase its W, which will increase the capacitance value further, which will slow this gate even further. So it itself will become fast, but the gate which is going to drive this is going to become slow. In simple words, what I'm trying to prove here is static family has average speed. So this is all what we can talk about static families. Let's quickly go ahead and focus ourselves on Pseudo-NMOS family here. So in Pseudo-NMOS, if it's a K input gate, we knew that we'll need, suppose let's go ahead and quickly draw a zero circuit. This is my V out, this is my PMOS. A is connected in parallel to B, so there's nothing but a NOR gate. We saw that for a 2 input gate or a NOR gate in this case, the number of pull down or NMOS transistors is going to be K. However, the number of PMOS is always going to be equal to 1, correct? Now, is there a static power dissipation present? Yes, there is. Let's understand this with an example of an inverter, Pseudo-NMOS inverter. Consider a case when A is equal to 1, this is always on. When A is 1, this is also on. That means there is a direct path for the current to flow between VDD and ground, which was not to be the case in CMOS static circuits. This is also called contention problem. When there is a direct path between VDD to ground, it's contention problem because both your transistors are on, and this also leads to static power dissipation. So static power dissipation is yes, that's one of the drawbacks. Static power dissipation, yes. Rail to rail output, we also saw that in this case when A was 1, you wanted your output to 0, so you had to size your PMOS, and still you would not get a perfect 0, but you will get something VOL. So rail to rail output is again a no. Ratioed, yes, you have to size for the proper functionality, correct? We saw that. So it has to be sized, so that's a yes. Can you cascade this? Yes, without a problem. You can cascade one zero circuit with another zero circuit, no problems at all. So this is about pseudo. Advantages and disadvantages we just saw. Advantage is only one PMOS compared to K PMOSs in case of static. But the drawback is contention problem, static power dissipation. And because you need to size your PMOS and NMOS, the capacitance of PMOS is also going to increase again. So again, the speed is not as high as compared to dynamic, but it is still okay because there is only one PMOS, correct? Compared to a chain of PMOSs in case of static. So we will again say that the speed is just above average speed. This is in comparison to dynamic, okay? Keep that in mind. So this is all what we need to know about Pseudo-NMOS family. Now let's quickly go ahead and focus on the next logic family, which is nothing but the dynamic family. If it's a K input gate in dynamic, we know that the pull down or the NMOSs are going to be K plus one footer transistor, and a pull up will nothing but be a pre-charged transistor, which will always be 1. So this we have already seen in the circuit. Let's quickly just verify that. This is my input A, this is my dynamic inverter, and this is my VR. So this is my footer, this is my header. So one PMOS, one footer, and this is the pull down like static, which was one NMOS in static inverter as well. So this is sorted. Now what we need to see is dynamic power dissipation. No, there is no direct path because of this header and footer transistor. One of them will always be on, the other one would be off. So no direct path from VDD to ground. So static power dissipation is not present. Rail to rail output, yes, you get a perfect output. Either you get VDD or you get a 0. So rail to rail output is present. Ratioed, you don't need to size them to get the correct functionality. It can still function. So no ratioed logic. Cascade, now this is a challenge. Can you cascade a dynamic gate with another dynamic gate? You cannot, because we saw that problem of monotonicity, and that's the reason we can give its output to a static gate which becomes a domino logic family, and you cannot cascade a dynamic with a dynamic. So that's a no. Now some of the other advantages and disadvantages. Here the biggest advantage is that you don't need to size your PMOS. PMOS is only one, so that's an advantage compared to static, but it's same like pseudo. But pseudo you need to size your PMOS. Here you don't need to size your PMOS, and when you don't need to size your PMOS, that means your W of PMOS might not technically be a very high value like pseudo, and we know that gate capacitance is given by, so this for pseudo is high, for dynamic it might be the same or even lesser. So CG is less, that means tau, which is RC, correct? This is my inverter, this is my another inverter, this guy is driving the second one, so its CG will be taken and this guy's R will be taken. So CG, now if this is a dynamic inverter, then CG is less, So tau would be less, that means the delay is less, so speed is good in case of dynamic circuits, correct? No contention problem, no direct path from VDD to ground, so no contention problem like pseudo, correct? However, you know that we have already studied noise margin is bad during the evaluation phase, and that's the reason we had studied the need of keeper circuit. So noise margin is bad, and we also know that they have dynamic nodes and the problem of charge leakage, correct? So these are some of the advantages, disadvantages of dynamic. Let's quickly go ahead and focus on domino logic family. So in domino, we know that it's same like dynamic with an added static inverter, correct? So the number of NMOSs and PMOSs, let's quickly do that. NMOS for dynamic was K plus 1. So for domino, it's going to be K plus 2 because 1, this is dynamic, plus 1 NMOS of my static inverter. PMOS, 1 for dynamic plus 1 of static inverter, correct? Static power dissipation, same like dynamic, no. Rail to rail output, yes, you get perfect output. You need to size, you don't need to size this. Can you cascade a domino with another domino? Absolutely yes, you can. Only dynamic circuit families are not to be cascaded, so you can do. Some of the advantages and disadvantages: it overcomes the monotonicity problem which dynamic circuit had, so that's an advantage. With the help of charge keeper circuits, it can also prevent charge leakage, so again that's an advantage. The only drawback here is that they are non-inverting, because at every output of dynamic you need to connect an inverter, so they are non-inverting circuits, so that's a drawback. This is domino. Let's quickly go ahead and complete the final family, which is nothing but CMOS transmission gates. So in CMOS transmission gates, we know that same like static, if there are k inputs, 2 input, 3 input, 4 input, you will need k number of PMOSs, k number of NMOSs. They will also, like static, have no static power dissipation because there is no path from VDD to ground. Rail to rail output, yes, you get a perfect 1 or a perfect 0. You don't need to size them, so no for ratio. Can you cascade? Yes, we have seen so many examples where you can cascade one transmission gate to another, so we can cascade it. Though cascading will have its own drawbacks, we can easily cascade it. Now some of the advantages and disadvantages of CMOS TG. One clear advantage is it provides a low resistance path between VDD and ground, so we get a perfect voltage swing. Now disadvantages might be a bit difficult for anyone to understand without understanding the physical design or the layout. So I'm just going to mention in very brief, because of physical design and because of the parasitic delay of the transmission gates, with multiple series transmission gates, when transmission gates are connected in series and when the layout happens of this transmission gates, what happens is the delay keeps on increasing rapidly because of the internal diffusion capacitance. So you cannot connect more than 2 transmission gates in series. This one can understand only when one understands how to make the layout of this. For the time being, you can say that the parasitic delay increases with increase in series connection of TGs. So that's one drawback here. The other drawback again is, suppose if the transmission gate, let's say this is 0 and this is 1, that means this has to hold its charge. But again, the problem will happen that it might be corrupted because of noise, and at that point of time the output is tri-stated, right? Means a high impedance, means it has to hold whatever is present, but it becomes susceptible to noise in this cases because a slight noise here on any of this signal, will allow the input to be passed which is not to be the correct value, so it's susceptible to noise. So in summary, we have seen all the logic families with their advantages, disadvantages, and some of the basic parameters of comparison. We saw their circuits as well. So I think we are all set to understand all these families, comparison, and which one is better for a particular design depends on an application. Hope you have followed. Stay tuned for further clips, and thank you very much.